Yeah, I think this is a really important point, and I think that it's something that I have to remind myself of as well, that, you're gonna have negative thoughts, you're gonna say negative
Duh.
things, but try to balance it, right? If
Hmm.
you're gonna say, "Oh my gosh, everything's so miserable right now. I can't believe this. I can't believe." Okay, tell me all the good things that are happening too.
And I think that goes about talking about people too. Obviously, like we're all gonna think negative thoughts about others, but kind of trying to make them into positive. So the same friend, she's been trying to do that as well. And the one that comes into mind, rather than being like, "Oh, he has a weird posture," it's like, "Wow, like his posture is really good. Like he stands up so straight. I hope his back is great." And it's silly things like that, but like it's real. Like you
The,
can
mo-
make anything into a compliment.
and the more you do stuff like that, the better you feel. Honestly, it really does help your mindset, and the more you start believing these things, right?
Welcome to Her Unshakeable Confidence with dynamic mother-daughter duo Simone and Olivia Knego, where they discuss the secrets of transformation and how to build bold confidence and unwavering resilience. From intimate conversations with inspiring guests to sharing their personal journeys of triumph and challenge, Simone and Olivia create a supportive space where every woman is encouraged to rise above her fears and love the woman in the mirror. Tune into Her Unshakable Confidence and join this special journey of connection and growth. It's like catching up with old friends who inspire you to be bravely and uniquely you.
Welcome to this week's episode of Her Unshakable Confidence. I'm Simone Knego,
And I'm Olivia Knego.
and today we are talking about the state of our world.
That seems so official.
I know, that sounded really official. I just wanted to
Yeah,
say it like
like
I
I
was a
knew
newscaster.
we should have the big green screen backgrounds behind us, the $30 million sets.
Maybe one
No,
day. Who knows?
maybe
Maybe
one
one day.
day.
Yeah.
That's just one of those things that I just don't see I could ever spend money on.
Oh,
Um,
I was saying someone would hire you, and you would be on, like you would have the screen behind you
oh,
because you've been now hired because you're
sure.
so official.
Yeah, hypothetically,
Okay.
that would be awesome. But no, we're talking about how divided our nation has become today,
Yeah.
and I guess kind of the I don't know if I want to say straight up hatred, but the hatred almost that's infecting the atmosphere.
Well, there's a lot going on when you think about it, right? I mean,
Yeah.
forget
I,
political parties. Like, we're not going to be talking politics. We can talk like a little bit around it, but this is not a political show. But it is crazy how much politics have divided people. And
mm-hmm.
we saw this. We've seen this for years.
Well, I guess that's my question to you is the first time I remember really being cognizant about politics elections period was 2016. And was this a thing before that election? Did people get this divided and hatred around election times and around politicians who quite literally most people have never even interacted with directly? Or is this kind of a recent phenomenon?
Well, I would say there's probably there has always been like a percentage of people that
Mm-hmm.
are so negative about things that they just can't control themselves. But I don't remember it ever being like this, right? I mean, for the 2016, correct, is like the first time that you
Yeah.
really felt that negativity. And, you know, I just don't understand, like, why can't we agree to disagree? It becomes almost to a point where it's hard to respect people when they get so nasty to other people, right? And
Yeah.
that's what we're seeing.
But also, like, there's a the double sided sword there of you can't give up your respect, or even just you can't treat. Yes, you don't have to respect someone, but you can't treat that person the same way they're treating the other people because that makes you just as bad. And that's something I think I struggle with politics a lot, or just honestly the world in general is like the act of being a good person means like you can't really seek revenge or have vendettas.
Well, you shouldn't seek revenge or have vendettas.
Well, yeah, but that's like a specifically like a good person.
Oh, that's what you're saying. A good person
Yeah,
is
and I
okay.
think that a lot of times these days, not to say people aren't good people just because they seek revenge on another. But it's just more of like, I don't know, like treat people the way you want to be treated kind of doesn't exist anymore, I guess.
Love your neighbor. Love thy neighbor. Like, I mean, there's so many parts that can come into this because we are at a state in our world where, and again, I'm not a politician. I'm not a historian. So I'm sure there's plenty of times, but this is just like our perspective on it that, boy, it's really hard. And it's really hard. Social media makes it that much more difficult.
I think so, for sure. For sure. Because people, yes, dissemination of information, but you can also say things. And I do this as well. Not that I'm much of an Instagram activist these days. I have a very big digital footprint to consider becoming a law student. But you can say things that you wouldn't say in person because you're hiding behind a screen. And it is hiding. And whatever you say, like you see the most vile things written online. There is no way that anybody, maybe some person, would actually say those things to another person's face.
Yeah, it's really interesting to think about that, right? Mm-hmm. Because when I was young, we didn't have any of this stuff, right? You had a phone.
Yeah.
Like a regular phone. So if you wanted to express something, you either held it in, or if you wanted to express something, you had to say it directly to them. And it is so much easier to send a text message or send a video, and because you don't see their response or you don't hear their response right away, right?
And you could just make wild accusations. I mean, a friend of mine received a text from a person that's not even like, they don't even regularly communicate, that was like, thank you for voting away my rights. Like, why you would never say that in person? Like, I hope you and your family are disgusted. It was something like just absolutely disgusting, vile message. And it's like, first of all, you're assuming the way she voted.
Right.
Second of all, you would never say that in person to someone. And because it honestly eliminates the time to have a very thoughtful and meaningful conversation about things. Because I think, as both you and I know, when you actually ask someone about their political beliefs or just their beliefs on a subject in general, and you can genuinely sit down with them, that's when A, the most change happens, and B, when we can finally agree on something.
Yeah, and it could be as simple as agreeing to disagree. But if you don't have those conversations, how do you know? And so I can tell you, I do get frustrated. I see some things on social media, and I'm like, how can you believe that? There is no science behind that. But then again, a lot of people don't believe in science. I saw someone post today in one of the groups asking for a recommendation of a pediatrician in town that doesn't require children to get vaccines. And oh my gosh, did that thread blow up, right? I just was like, it was like a social experiment almost. And it was funny. They were like, well, no, they don't have to, they don't necessarily require them. And she's like, well, if my kids don't get them, then I get fired from the practice. So that's the same difference. But it just was amazing how people went crazy with this. I want to say there was like 500 comments. And I can tell you that in person, people would just walk away.
You know what I say to that is like, yeah, that's pretty fucking stupid. Like, vaccinate your kids. But also, she wasn't asking for advice. Like, should I or should I not vaccinate my kids?
Right.
She was like, is there a doctor that does not require this? Which is like, you know what? I'm not going to respond because I don't know the answer. And it's not my business to educate this individual.
Yeah. And I know she's asking a question, but I have nothing to do with this. I'm not going to answer.
Yeah.
But it's just an example of how things are going.
Productive conversations don't happen that way. That's not like someone asking for a recommendation and then you spitfiring your beliefs on the subject on them. That's not how minds change or productive conversations actually occur.
Yeah, definitely. You can't make a difference on social media with trying to teach somebody something. I mean, I guess I probably shouldn't say that because a lot of people get their news from social media and that's what they believe.
But that's not even necessarily what I'm saying. You can't change someone's mind when they're not even looking to change it.
Yeah, you're right.
And it's like, if you're just posting a comment on the internet that's like asking like, hey, what's the best recommendation for this? I'm not looking to have an open conversation with you right now. I'm just looking for advice.
Yeah, people love to do that though. Like, you'll see someone ask one question and then they get attacked for something they weren't even asking about, right? And you're like,
Yeah.
but it is because you can hide behind
And
the
it's
screen.
almost like people can't be multifaceted these days. And it's like this one element of their life, bad or good, follows them everywhere. And I think that's a really horrible thing.
Yeah, I agree. I just, but when we look at the world as a whole right now, I mean, think about what's happening across the world, right?
I mean,
The
yeah.
wars that are happening, if you look at the continent of Africa and,
Yeah, the
there's
famines,
famines
the
and,
natural disasters, the
right.
genocides, it's all
It's,
horrible.
it's amazing
Like,
that we can sleep at night, right? At all. I mean,
yeah, I
we
was
don't,
like,
we don't
Queen, you
really.
don't. Yeah.
I know. I was like, I don't really sleep. So definitely didn't sleep last night. But yeah, I think that we need to kind of remind ourselves of who we really are and think about that love thy neighbor, right?
And also what legacy we want to leave on the planet, I guess. Um, and I mean, there's like, I hate being like, well, there's always something worse going on. Like, but when it comes to this divide that we have in our nation, there is something worse going on. And because of the way we are, we can't fix it. I Up until recently, I would say I was like not a patriotic person, but like I love this country. I love what I can do in this country. I've been to all 7 continents at this point, major flex, and there's no place I would want to live besides here. I can say that with a fact, but I hate that the divide that we have in this country even exists, because it's like I feel like I can't even have conversations with people anymore.
I think there's a lot of fear too, right? I
Oh
mean,
yeah.
I feel like I would be afraid to start a conversation. I mean, not really afraid to, but I definitely wouldn't get into it with someone that I don't know because you just
No.
never know. Plus, you can carry a gun, right? You can Here it's
Well, I
concealed
saw
carry without a
something.
permit.
I saw this guy, and obviously, first of all, violence is never the answer to the story. But obviously, Halloween is a big time for insensitive, politically incorrect costumes. There was this guy in West Hollywood that was dressed up in a Nazi uniform while wearing a pig mask, and people were like
Oh
lined
my
up
god.
to take pictures with him. He was doing the freaking salute and everything. And this podcaster that I like, he was talking about it, and he was like, I just wanted to go over and beat the shit out of him, but you never know if they have knives these days, which is like also a very real thing. And like, it's just like, what is he going to say and do in that very moment that's going to change anyone's mind in the situation? Because like everyone just thought it was a joke and it's funny, but it's not funny.
No, it's not funny at all. And I think that that is truly unbelievable that, first of all, to actually wear a costume like that, but second of all, to go out there and take pictures with the person who's wearing that costume. To me,
Yeah.
that's just
People are
despicable.
lined up. Also, you know what? Like, I think that there's always going to be some negativity and people disliking each other, but people need to learn that we are not in the 70s anymore when you are taking photos on your disposable camera and that thing is going to be deleted forever. Like, no, those things will haunt you. That is something that an employer will definitely take into account if they saw. I don't,
Let's hope in a bad
oh,
way.
yeah. Yeah. I mean, even like, as of the state of our country, even whatever, like, employees themselves believes, like companies still have to put on this face of like acceptance. So like I don't know why people keep doing things like this, and also just like thinking that they are not the problem. Well, I didn't dress up that way, I just took a picture, but you're saying it's okay.
But I just feel like I just don't want to be in a place of no return.
Yeah. I think it's really hard for me because like, not to be like you grew up this way, but like, yeah, you could like, we have been making progress up until this point, and I was kind of raised in an environment of progress, and now it feels like we're not. We're going the opposite direction.
Well, in so many regards. But even think about what just happened in Amsterdam, right? The fact
Oh
that
wait, what just happened in Amsterdam? Sorry, like, wait, this is gonna sound so horrible, guys. My brain has no room for like the outside stretches, and if I kept up with the news, it would be so exhausting. Like, it is already bad enough when I catch a clip of something happening out in the real world and I can't do anything about this. I feel like such an overwhelming sense of guilt. It's really bad.
So you don't know about this at all?
Maybe, probably not.
So
Wait, perhaps.
the soccer game?
No, literally no clue.
So it was the team from Israel was there, lots of spectators from Israel, and there was an attack on many of the Israelis who were there to the point where Israel sent in multiple planes to rescue all the people to get them out of there. It was
Oh, I did.
such bad
Okay.
violence.
I didn't see the specifics. I saw social media posts and someone's story, which I thought was pretty good. It was just like the idea of like, why are you taking your? It's just why like, you're involving the war and the politics of what's happening in Palestine to citizens of Israel who are like honestly separate. I mean, I think in a way it's I don't even there's no analogies to bring there, but it's hateful. It's just hateful.
Well, really, the only part I want to again, I wasn't there, so I don't know all the details, but violence is never good,
Yeah, I
right?
don't know when we've that's ever worked, bro. Like,
Yeah.
who in history do we look at and think of as great internationally known leaders? Not the people that led with violence. That's for damn sure.
Yeah, for sure not. But the fact that we're at a point in history where literally Israel had to send in planes to rescue their people to get them out of there because they were, one guy got run over by a car, other people were stabbed. It was like a whole.
Yeah, and it's like
And again, I
Amsterdam.
don't know the details if it was truly a planned attack, but it seems like it was a planned attack. So, they're showing some of the text messages that were sent between some of the people that were part of the attack. And yeah, where are we now that you just can't feel safe, right? I mean,
No, I
and
mean,
so I just really wish that people could take a step back, and if everybody would start thinking about just leading with kindness first and
and
foremost. And you don't
don't.
have to agree. I don't, even my closest friends, there are things that we do not agree on and never will. Now, if you don't agree on anything with someone, obviously that's not a basis for a friendship, but
Yeah,
you should still be able to have a conversation without violence, without hatred, and I just don't think that is happening.
yeah. I think that in some aspects kind of goes back to the social media thing, and also this woman called my generation the entitlement generation, which I like very actively disagree with. I was like, that's really fucked up to say. But she did say there's this wave of people just caring about themselves, both within the workplace and outside of the workplace. And so not willing to go above and beyond with others. And that obviously within the workplace, it's really important, especially as a lawyer, like you're not just doing what you sign up for, you're doing all the above. But also outside of the workplace, like again, back to the treat how others how you want to be treated, but like the entitlement of expecting the best when you're the worst.
Hmm. That's really interesting to think about. So, what do you think about the idea of the pursuit of happiness? Because to me, when you
I'm
say,
on the pursuit of happiness.
okay, but that is part of our culture, right? I mean, when you think about it, right? I mean,
I can't be happy though if other people are miserable.
well, and that's what I'm asking you because I think for a lot of people, that idea of focusing on happiness, which again, I think you should be happy, but if your main goal is pursuing happiness, then that really focuses on yourself and
I
not the
don't think
people
that's
around you.
true.
Oh,
I
you
don't
don't
think
think it
that's
focuses
true.
on yourself?
I think the pursuit of success and money focuses on yourself. I think that to have happiness, you need others in your life, and others are only going to stay in your life if you treat them with respect and kindness and actually give a damn. I think they're I don't even know. I mean, unless you're like a completely solitary individual, but I think everybody needs somebody.
Yeah, but I'm talking about more like the Declaration of Independence, right? I mean,
I
think
mean,
about that as it's stated that, right, that
yeah, I
it's
mean, maybe I'm just an empathetic human being.
the
Like,
pursuit of happiness. I think the message of the pursuit of happiness makes it more of a me message. Like, how about pursuit of kindness to all of humanity?
yeah,
Is that too extreme?
I guess this my thing is like I just don't understand how people could be happy when other people are suffering. And not like, wow, I'm miserable because people are starving in the world, but more of like, wow, like I'm doing things that are directly impacting those in my community in a very negative way. At like, I just don't it, but my brain is not the same as other people's. I've learned that.
Yeah, I just wonder how many people actually really think about that. Like, oh, if I do this, this is going to negatively impact someone else. I think they just do it. And then afterwards, they're like, oh, yeah, I guess that wasn't so great. But
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like, I guess I live my life like fueled by anxiety a little bit, so that causes me to overthink. So it's like I think through every possible outcome of what could happen when I do something.
yeah, your sister does that too.
I also just like I get the most joy when other people are happy. Like if I do something for someone else and that like brings them joy, that makes me happy.
I think that's such an important piece, right?
Yeah.
And I don't want to say that we've lost that because I think there's plenty of people that are still doing really good things in this world. But on a day to day basis, I think it's a lot harder to see it happening and you have to search for it a little bit more. And, I did a post last week about being in the grocery store and people almost getting in a fist fight at the checkout line. And it's like, what? Like, where are we that we have become so divided that you can't even go to the
Yeah.
grocery
I don't
store?
know where like this is gonna sound so bad, but I don't know where manners went. Like smile on your face, like keep your thoughts to yourself.
Yeah. Unless you have something nice to say, don't say it.
Yeah.
Those kinds of things. Yeah, I don't know. I think part of it is the just being able to hide behind things, right?
Oh yeah. I mean,
Although that
absolutely.
was in person. I mean, that was, you know, flat out almost a
Well,
fight in
I
person.
think Florida's like a different situation. It always has been. People are down there. There's the
Yeah.
reputation of Florida man for a reason.
Yeah.
Like it's loony. But yeah, I think people just hide behind their screens and hide behind kind of who they even want to be.
Yeah, I think about that often. Like when I see people behaving in a certain way, a negative way, like do they get it? Do they know that that's how their people are
Perceiving them. I actually
perceiving them? That's
don't
the
know.
word I was looking for. Yeah.
I think about that sometimes. Can people that do bad things, do they know they're the bad guy? Or even just like assholic things. And sometimes I think they do.
I think it's worse if they do and they just don't care. Some people I really do think like they don't know that they're the big complainers. They have no idea that they're saying negative things all the time until you point it out to them, which is a very hard conversation to have. But I think a lot
Mm.
of people just don't
My
see
friend
it.
group in law school, we've recently really changed our mindset on this
Hmm.
because I have been very negative in the last month about going to classes and stuff and just like negative in general. Like the vibes have been off. But now we have to start doing like compliment sandwiches anytime we want to do anything like offensive. So like I was like, the weather is really bad. However, it is good that it is finally cold and it is making me study because I do not want to go outside.
You sound like a robot when you're saying it like that, but
But
I
like
like the idea.
eventually, it does sink in because when you have to think of the good in a situation, you're like, oh wait, it's really not that bad. Like, yeah, it's cloudy out, but I had been bitching and moaning the last 3 weeks about how hot it is, and now it's in the 60s. Like, take your wins where you can get them.
Yeah, I think this is a really important point, and I think that it's something that I have to remind myself of as well. That you're going to have negative thoughts. You're going to say negative
Duh.
things, but try to balance it, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you're going to say, oh my gosh, everything's so miserable right now. I can't believe this. Okay, tell me all the good things that are happening too.
And I think that goes about talking about people too. Obviously, like we're all going to think negative thoughts about others, but kind of trying to make them into positive. So the same friend, she's been trying to do that as well. And the one that comes into mind, rather than being like, oh, he has a weird posture, it's like, wow, like his posture is really good. Like he stands up so straight. I hope his back is great. And it's silly things like that, but like it's real. Like you can make anything into a compliment.
And the more you do stuff like that, the better you feel. Honestly, it really does help your mindset. And the more you start believing these things, right? I mean, if you can believe all the negative things that you say, especially when you say to yourself, right? If you're saying, oh my gosh, I'm so fat, or I can't believe how many wrinkles I have. Like, if you start seeing the positive in yourself, like, wow, I really, really love my eye color, or, I don't know, whatever you want to say in the moment. These earrings look great on me. I love my new shirt. I do love my new shirt, my new Unshakable shirt. Like it.
It's very nice.
So, but we need to treat ourselves better,
mm-hmm.
and we need to treat other people better. And I think that when we start treating ourselves better, I think we treat other people better. So if we have a negative mindset about ourselves, it's kind of hard to go forward in the world with any kind of positivity because we feel bad about ourselves. So it really starts on working on ourselves first.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
It's interesting that you're doing that with your friends. I kind of like that.
Yeah, I mean, we have like a lot of negativity in our life inherently. I mean, the legal system in the United States is not a fun one to analyze, especially as you like see the historic changes of it. And it's cool to see where we've come from, but it's kind of detrimental to see how much we have to go still.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and you just don't know how things are going to go, right? Like and you just can't give up.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that no matter what, you can't just say, oh, it's too hard, I'm not doing it anymore. Like if you want to affect change in this world, you have to keep going.
Yeah. No one's going to judge you for like getting fired or being told you can't do it anymore, but they are going to judge you for just stopping on your own. Unless it's like killing you. Exception there if it's killing you.
I mean, there definitely are times where you have to walk away, right? If you are in such a toxic job where it just is miserable, there's always something better, right? There is always something better.
Yeah.
Maybe something different, but it could be something better for you, something. Sorry, I forgot to turn my phone off.
Yeah, you're
I'm
really
having
off
a day.
with technology
I am really
today.
off today.
That's okay.
I told you I didn't sleep. It was your brother calling.
Which one?
The older one.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah, that's it. That's all I got to say about that. But I think that we have to start treating ourselves better so that we can treat the world better, right? And change always does start with you, right? It starts with you. It starts with the person out there who's listening and saying, oh my gosh, I haven't thought about how negative I've been about this. Or, wow, that word sandwich thing's kind of cool. So the next time I'm thinking all this yuck, then let me put something nice around it. Let me wrap it up in a bow, because there are good things all around us. Sometimes we have to search harder than others.
Yeah. I think that there is good in the world, and it just like right now it is a really taxing time. But we need to remember that we can get through it.
Yeah, and I think when you look at it doesn't matter what political party you are. When you look at the election, somebody won, right? And the people that didn't support the person who won obviously are struggling right now, right? They feel mad and sad, and so we have to understand
inherently no one likes to lose. I think that is just a level that everyone needs to remember.
Well, it's not just not liking to lose. Like this, for a lot of people, this is very personal.
Yeah.
And so I think when we walk through the world right now, we have to be a little bit more sensitive about that stuff and not gloat. I mean, I'm not saying who I voted for, so I'm not talking about me gloating, but you see people out there who are gloating because I told you, and you're like, really? Is this how we're going to be?
Does anyone really ever love to hear "I told you so"?
Gosh, no, nobody likes that. right?
Yeah.
I mean, you love it when I say that to you.
No, I don't.
I never say that to you.
Yes, you do.
I do?
Yeah.
How often?
Pretty often, because a lot of times I'm an
Oof.
overthinker. So usually
Oh,
it's not in like a negative way. It's just like I
okay.
go to something and I have a good time and you're like, I told you you'd have a good time.
Yeah, okay. I was thinking you were saying like I was bringing you down. Like, I told you so.
No, it's not that way.
Yeah, in a positive way.
Yeah, you're a positive woman.
I'm positive, Patty. Some days.
It's never been, I mean, I think that's important to have, days like that. Like my friend's car, she's usually Honda, she's Holly the Honda, but like when she starts yelling at her with all the buzzers, she's like Sally the snitch. So it's like you can have days where you're positive Patty, and you can also have days where you're negative Nancy. But just
Right.
like make sure the positive Patty is your primary title.
Yeah, it's true, and I'm happy with that title. And it's funny now, like if I become at all negative, I call myself out on it because I'm like, girl, get over yourself. Like, this is not you.
Dude, yeah, I'm like, okay, you can have your pity party. Ever since, this is a little bit of a tangent. So I wrote this essay. It's in Simone's book, the first one. Well, the only one currently out. The
Second one's coming.
Unordinary You. And it was one of the essays I wrote to get into college, and it was like titled Rose-Colored Glasses. And so we had to write about a metaphor and just do it like how it changes our perspective on the world. And I wrote about that metaphor and the world being rosy. And I had just like literally the day before writing that been diagnosed with Crohn's. And while writing this, I remember like what you said to me. It was like, okay, so we can be upset today, but tomorrow we're not going to be upset. Like tomorrow we're going to figure out an action plan. And that's what I always do when I feel myself I let myself mourn, let myself the time to feel my feelings. And then it's like, okay, what's next?
Yeah. And I think that's really important because two parts to it. If we don't give ourselves time to feel those emotions, then we suppress them. And I know that because I suppressed emotions for years. Mm-hmm. But if we move on too quickly, right? Or if we don't move on at all, I mean, that's actually the second part, is that if we just stay in that moment, like, what good's that going to do? You're just making yourself more miserable, right? There is always some sort of solution. Might not be a great one, but there's always something that can bring you that step forward. And so feel the feels and then move forward.
Yeah. I don't think the only time you should be crying is when you're watching movies.
Yeah, you should cry for real, right? Yeah. There are real things to cry about.
Hey, and I feel like that's something that I've definitely seen in you. Like you progressed. Mm-hmm. You asked me 15 years ago, Simone only cries at movies. Now Mom cries at everything. Not everything, but things that she genuinely gets emotional and feels about. Yes, she does. And she lets herself do it.
Yeah, I used to really just stuff that back because...
You know who lets himself cry? Dad. I was raised by a pretty emotionally intelligent man, honestly.
Yeah, no, he does allow himself to cry. It's good to watch.
Yeah.
I mean, not that I like to see him cry.
No, obviously not, but it's better than like not having him cry. Like that would be a lot.
Yeah. Okay, I think we've reached our time since I had to do like a double recording because I've failed on my echo control. But whatever, it is what it is.
Can I read?
Yeah. Tell me your calendar.
You change your life by doing, not by thinking about doing. In fact, when you become closely associated with the actions you are taking, something magical starts to become apparent.
I think that's pretty spot on for today.
Yeah. And by the way, just so she knows, daily episode reminder, it is almost December, which means it's almost the new year.
Oh, which means
I almost need a new calendar.
It's on the list. So yeah, I think that aligns really well with what we were talking about, because I think that you got to go out there and do the things. Don't just think them.
Be nice to your people. And be nice to not even your people.
Just be nice. Like, be kind. You don't know what anybody else is going through.
You don't have to like them, but you don't have to be a bitch.
I think we'll just end with that. Thank you so much for joining us on this week's episode of Her Unshakeable Confidence. Please remember to write a review, share this episode, rate us, because we want you to keep coming back to hear more.
Absolutely.
Always remember, you are unshakable. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to Her Unshakable Confidence with Simone and Olivia Knego. We hope this episode has made your day just a little bit brighter and given you the inspiration you need to confidently go about your week. Always remember to be authentically you. Don't forget to like and subscribe so you never miss an episode. And feel free to connect with them on Instagram at Simone Knego and at Olivia Knego. Till next time.